Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to esteemed guests, judges, faculty members, participants, and my dear friends. On behalf of the Botanical Society of Hansraj College, I feel honored to welcome you all to the speaker session cum paper presentation competition organized in collaboration with the Millennium India Education Foundation on occasion of World Wetlands Day 2026. Wetlands are not just ecosystems, they are lifelines. As our cities expand, wetlands silently protect us from floods, purify our water, support biodiversity, and nurture our mental well being. This year's theme, Wetlands for Sustainable Cities, reminds us that urban development and nature must grow together and not apart. I am honored to announce today's speaker for our session, Professor Gyan Prakash Sir, Department of Environmental Sciences, University of Delhi. I kindly invite Professor Vijayarani Rajpal ma'am to present the potted plant and mug to Sir. To begin today's program, we have an enlightening speaker session titled Reconnecting with Nature. This session highlights the indispensable relationship with urban populations and wetland ecosystems, emphasizing how these blue green spaces enhance climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, and public mental health in rapidly growing cities. Now, I kindly invite Dr. Savita Ma'am to introduce our esteemed speaker for today.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, Dr. Savita, would take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed guest, Professor Gyan Prakash Sharma, for today's program to Hansraj College as we are going to celebrate the World Wetland Day. Professor Sharma is a distinguished professor in the Department of Environmental Studies at the University of Delhi. With extensive research published in numerous peer reviewed journals, his work often delves into the dynamics of native and non native plant species, the impact of biological invasions, and broader ecological functions. His expertise provides an invaluable perspective on the environmental challenges that we face, particularly in the context of urban expansion and climate change. He has been a vital part of the discussion surrounding environmental education and conservation issues in India, emphasizing the intricate collaboration between academia and conservation agencies. Today, Professor Sharma will share his insights on reconnecting with nature, a topic that perfectly bridges gap between scientific understanding and the personal responsibilities to the environment that sustain us. Please join me extending a warm welcome to Professor Gyan Prakash Sharma. We welcome you, sir.
Well, today is World Wetland Day, and I understand that keeping you inside this hall on this wonderful weather is a lot of challenge to me. But I thank the Department of Botany to giving me an opportunity to talk to you about something which I want to share with you. Thank you, Monica ma'am. Thank you, Romila ma'am. Professor Vijayarani ma'am was also around here. She's around. Oh, ma'am is here. So thank you so much for the opportunity, ma'am. And lot of known faces to me, and probably what I know a little bit about environment, I want to share with you. So, so I thought of you know giving you an idea of how I connect with nature, not as an environmentalist, not as a person who knows forest ecology, not as a person who knows invasion ecology, but as an individual who understands just a little bit of subject and tries to connect to the nature. And if you really intend to connect to the nature, what are the ways through which you can connect to the nature? And So the idea of giving you this brief presentation is not much about the wetlands, but as the theme of the wetlands today is that we need to connect with the nature. We need to actually reconnect with the nature. And what are the possible ways in which we, when live in an urbanized society like Delhi, so much urban, and what are the different ways through which some individual can connect to the nature? The theme for the wetland is celebrating cultural heritage, wetland and traditional ecology or traditional knowledge. And this highlights actually the connections between the people and the nature. This is what I want to talk about, which emphasizes upon the traditional wisdom of what all we have, and we want to implement it within our life. So I directly come to someone very great actually. He's called as the national teacher of the country. He's Vinoba Bhave. And I quote Vinoba Bhave saying that education is the basis and the substratum to develop mind, heart, and soul of the body. And what I understand with my little knowledge is that if you have this balance of mind, body, and soul, then you perform the best in your life. And that best in your life can only be performed when you are connected with the nature. And many of us are actually disjunct from the nature. I will tell you how and why. So, disconnect from the nature actually is central to the convergent socio-ecological crisis. So, when I say the socio-ecological crisis, I see that there are different ways through which we connect to this socio-ecological crisis. And one way to connect to the socio-ecological crisis is like talks like this. The Wetland Day talk. Why we have gathered here? Is it some important day? It's just like another day. But it's the World Wetland Day. Why we are celebrating the World Wetland Day? We want to connect ourselves to the nature. How many of us visit wetlands in an urbanized system? Not many. And maybe sometimes in years we go and visit and see a wetland. But are there ways through which we can connect to the nature in a very simplistic manner? So, the bottom line is that we want to reconnect ourselves with the nature. And this has become the mantra that how we can reconnect with the nature. And this is the way through which we can reconnect with the nature, trying to understand the nature. Subject is one side, but connecting with the nature is another side of a human being, right? I think all of you are very excited about a field trip, isn't it? If, as in the Botanical Society, your department is taking a field trip, you get very excited. You sometimes go to Jim Corbett, you sometimes go to Periyar National Park, you sometimes go to Ranthambore and places like that. Why? You become excited. It's not the place for which you become excited, it is the ambience for which you get excited. You will see nature, you will see animals, and what and what not. So, how in this hustle bustle of an urbanized system, we create a conscious within ourselves that is environmentally conscious? Although in the education system we have tried to make our youth environmentally conscious, we have a specialized paper I think every graduate individual has to pass through, isn't it? You have to go through that paper and pass that paper and have some sort of an environmental knowledge. But is that enough to make our young citizens and young youth environmentally conscious, or they just take it as a paper and just move on in their life? I think that it is not very sufficient, because since years I have been seeing that this paper is being floated, and every individual graduating from whatsoever field it is, he or she has to, complete this course and move ahead. Maybe with this action of ours, there is a little bit of consciousness which arose in our young minds. But this is not sufficient if we want to have a environmental friendly life. When I say environmental friendly life, there is a buzzword which is, moving across in this entire, decade, that is sustainability. And I think every time you talk about these words, sustainability. So when I say sustainability, actually, I come to the idea of a concept called as deep ecology. And what is deep ecology? Deep ecology is something in which an individual and every individual on this planet, or I would say every organism on this planet, are interconnected with each other. And if we try to destroy, or if we try to disrupt the functional cycle of any individual, the entire ecosystem gets collapsed. And I think this has been wonderfully portrayed in a fantastic movie I think all of you might have watched. It's Avatar, isn't it? I think all of you might have watched Avatar. So, in this movie of Avatar, it says that every human being or every organism is connected to each other. And if one organism is destroyed or one organism is in problem, the entire ecosystem fails on. And this is actually the basis of being reconnected to the nature. Why we should reconnect ourselves to the nature, and why it is important for us to reconnect to the nature, because most of us are actually disjunct from the nature. And one way of what Vinoba Bhave suggests as an educationist, that if we want to connect to the nature, we have to be within the nature, and that within the nature actually, ignites the way through which you think about the nature, and you connect more toward the nature. So if you live in an urbanized system, there is a mental conscious which develops, which is actually away from the nature. And if you live in a rural system, or if you live in a forest like a system, then actually you get connected to the system. So the more you see, the more you get influenced. This is what the strategy of the advertisement is also is. The more you see, the more you get inclined, isn't it? And the best example of this is reels. What you see, it is so addictive, isn't it? You see one, the another comes over, you see other, the other comes over, and it actually, fogs your mind. So this is not a new concept, it's a very old concept, that the more you get engaged with the nature, you get more connected to the nature. And in an urbanized system, we have got a disjunct from this system, from the nature actually. So how do we achieve this connectedness? How do we make our children get connected to the nature, right? There are faculty sitting here, might be having some young kids. What I see these days is that if a kid handles the soil, then the mothers are so conscious. They take the kid to the bathroom immediately, wash the hands, and then sanitize and blah blah and what and what not. So that connection actually is missing. It starts missing right from the that cognitive level of understanding. And there the disjunct starts if we are in the urbanized system. अब उस पे बहुत सारे सवाल आएंगे कि वो बीमार हो जाएगा बच्चा, हम क्या करेंगे, and blah blah and so on. But this is what we have made it, right? We have to think over it and try to align our young youth more towards the nature. And this is the way we connect with the nature. So Now this buzzword, which started, proliferating after 1970s, you can see sustainability, the use. I did a small Google search and searched for the word when the maximum use of the word sustainability started in our literature. So it started early, actually in 1900, but it was very slow. Then around in 1960s, it started picking up, and then suddenly in 1970 it picked up, and then in 1980 it again picked up very fast. And especially if you see the 1985 time, it picked up again and very fast. And that was the time when the Brundtland report came, and they said that we need to be sustainable for our future generations. And then the buzzword of sustainability started. Sustainability, sustainable development, and so on and so forth, all started after that. That was the kick of the use of the word sustainability. So, and why we were so fascinated about this word sustainability? The reason was that we were urbanizing. Our cities were, expanding, and our population was migrating. That was the time when the maximum amount of population was migrating towards the major cities. Delhi was simply Delhi, later it became NCR, then it became NCT, right? There was expansion. For the other places also it happened the same. People migrating from small villages to their towns, and town people migrating to metropolitan cities, and metropolitan cities migrating to the capital areas. This actually happened in this, 30 to 40 decades. And that was the worry, that if the large chunk of the crowd or the population which is living and facing that unsustainable future, how in under these circumstances, or how under these situations we get connected to the nature. That is one of the biggest challenge which we have. But pulling in, actually, I would say, the traditional values of what we have, the traditional knowledge of what we have, and the small actions of what we do will make ourselves connected to the nature. And I will tell you how. So this is just another word search, the urban heat island search. That also started picking up in 1970s, the effect of urbanization. The urbanization effect also, picked up. The urban heat island effect also picked up after 1970s. We started studying more on the urban heat island effect. And the reason being is that it was impacting us in many ways. And we were getting disjunct from the system, and I would say disjunct from the nature. So, how we have a sustainable society, sustainable community, and sustainable future when we live in an urban setup where we have small houses, where we do not have large landscapes, where we do not have a greener area in our house. We live in small, box like houses. So, within that scenario, what are the possible ways through which we as an individual can connect to the nature? So, there is one experiment which we did, and that showed a lot of, response. And that is basically, we want to embrace vision for good life. Everybody intends to embrace that vision of good life. हम सबकी इच्छा है, यहाँ पे जितने यहाँ पे बैठे हैं सभागार में, we all want to have that good life, that vision for good life. But that vision for good life will only come over to you when you unleash that latent responsibilities within you. Do you think that latent responsibilities will get excited or enacted in you when you do this environmental sciences course for 6 months, or there is something else which you should do actually to unleash that latent responsibility. And latent responsibility, I means that hidden responsibility lies within you. How will that unleash in the larger society? And if you unleash that latent responsibility, then you can embrace vision for good life. And how it can have a widespread action, if this small action can be done and it can spread over like wildfire, so you get connected with the nature. So the answer lies here, that addressing humans problem in the natural world, and that conscious which connects to the nature is missing. So how to create that conscious mind which connects with the nature? I will tell you one by one. So this is an interesting flowchart which I have tried to make here. It talks about a photograph and it says that paleoscapes. So the resources coming from the surrounding actually are the paleoscapes. So when we were evolving as an individual, as in society, we are using our resources from the surroundings. And these surroundings, I term it as paleoscapes. Now there is something which we started using from the landscapes, and then I call these landscapes as resourcescapes, because we are using resources from the adjacent landscapes. And the diet which we consume as an individual is also coming from the adjacent landscapes. हम कहते हैं ना, सर्दियों के दिनों में ये सब्जियां खानी चाहिए, गर्मियों के दिनों में ये खाना चाहिए, बरसात के बाद ये खाना चाहिए. Why that traditional thing is existing within our society? Because there were resourcescapes which were supplying certain resources to the community, and the community was dependent on those resources. And since the community was dependent on those resources, they had a healthy life. Nowadays, there is a diversion in the resourcescapes. And why there is a diversion in the resourcescapes is that we can get resources from anywhere we want, right? Even if we can get watermelons in the winter times. Generally, we didn't used to get watermelons in the winter time, because we were using the resources which were coming from the adjacent lands. And because of this, globalization sort of a thing, there is a health hazard related to it. And initially, we were using that paleo diet and we were healthy. And nowadays, we are not using that sort of a resourcescape diet. We are dependent on the diet of the other landscapes in terms of time and space. And probably because of this, there is a health challenge. And this health challenge is more prominent in the urban scapes rather than in the rural scapes. If you see the data, you can get into all those things. But talking very generally, it is happening like that. So to have that green spaces in an urbanized system, there is a very traditional way of doing it. And there is a very cultural way of doing it. And that traditional and cultural way of doing it is a sort of a meditation, and it's sort of a mindfulness. So how to create a mind which is conscious for the environment? How to create a mind which connects to the nature? How to create an individual who is conscious about the environment? बहुत कुछ पढ़ के भी आज आज मैं देखता हूँ कभी कभी कि कार में से लोग बॉटल बाहर फेंक देते हैं, कॉन्शियस नहीं है. There is a lot of vacuum in the actions. And there is a data which says that the more the affluent you become, the more the waste you generate. But it should be the more the affluent you become, the limited the waste you should generate. It should be the other way around. So, the most developing countries or most of the developed countries are facing the challenge of handling their waste, and we as a developing country to be developed very soon is challenging to handle our waste. It is very challenging. You can see how Delhi is in such a shape and trying to handle the waste problems of Delhi. So the challenge is tremendous. But within all those challenges, how to make yourself environmentally connected, how to make yourself environmentally responsible, how to have a cognitive learning for the environment, that becomes a challenge. But you can do it very easily doing a small exercise. And the exercise is nothing else but a very traditional and cultural way of doing the things, is doing some exercise of meditation and some exercise of mindfulness. And I will tell you what is meditation and what is mindfulness in this society where we do an exercise of botany, right? How we do this sort of an exercise of mindfulness and meditation using the tools of botany. So, meditation and mindfulness is actually central to creating a conscious mind, right? So, so what is meditation? By definition, I will tell you what is meditation. It says that meditation is a practice in which an individual uses a technique to train attention, number one, train attention and awareness and detach from the reflexes. So it is train attention and awareness and detach from the reflexes and try to achieve a mentally clear and emotionally calm, stable state while not judging the meditation process itself. So it means that you are trying to do an exercise in which you are not judging yourself, you are just doing it. Number one. Number two, you are detaching from the reflexes. I mean to say, the mind, what is being saying, but you are just doing it for your own happiness and you are emotionally connected with your actions. So, this is a mandala actually, homegrown plants. Somebody has homegrown, one of my friends has homegrown in the balcony and harvested it, washed it, and tried to arrange in the form of a mandala. So it means that an individual, maybe vice principal ma'am, doing a lot of administrative stuff, scolding everybody in the campus and making everybody, scare about, right? But she's not like that, I know. So, but yes, I mean to say there are ways. There is a day of a stress with you, right? There are a lot of things, meetings, right? Something good for the students you have to do. That actioning requires a lot of actually stressing over. But one instance where you want to detach from all those things and try to get connected to the nature is growing something for you, maybe in a balcony, a small pot, which makes you connect to the nature. थोड़ा मिट्टी डालना, थोड़ा पानी डालना, थोड़ा खाद डालना, थोड़ा देखना कीड़े तो नहीं लग गए हैं, right? So I mean to say, once you're doing that with lot of connection in which you are emotionally connected, and then you start doing only with your reflexes rather than just emphasizing upon that this is what I want to do for the environment. जैसे आज क्या है ना, हम पकड़ के बैठाए गए हैं कि आज वर्ल्ड वेटलैंड डे, हम सुनेंगे सर को, आज जबरदस्ती सुनना पड़ेगा तुमको, नहीं अटेंडेंस भी नहीं मिलेगी, ऐसा कुछ होता है, राइट? दैट शुड नॉट बी द केस. The case should be, the reflexes should say that today is World Wetland Day, let's do something, right? It should be the other way around. That is what is meditation. So it's not necessary that you do meditation in a closed room and say something, something. It's not like that. Meditation is a state of mind when you do something and you detach yourself from your own reflexes, right? That is emotionally connecting yourself. छोटी सी एक्सरसाइज है, कभी आप करके देखिएगा. 4 गमले रखिए अपने बालकनी में और उसको ग्रो करिए. छोटा टमाटर उगाइए, मिर्ची उगाइए, राइट? बहुत छोटी, सबके पास छोटी जगह होती है. अर्बन सिस्टम में 4-5 गमले से ज़्यादा अगर आप उगा रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब आपके पास बड़ी जगह है, राइट? अगर आप 5 गमलों में से कभी बैंगन उगाइए, कभी भिंडी उगाइए, कभी कुछ उगाइए, राइट? मे बी 4 आए आपके पास, नॉट नेसेसरी कि पूरे घर को आप खिला पाएँ. हो सकता है 4 आए, हो सकता है 10 आए, राइट? धनिया उगाइए, लहसुन उगाइए, राइट? उसके अंदर बहुत सिंपल सिंपल चीज़ें, ऐसा नहीं कि बहुत टफ चीज़ें आपको मैंगो उगाना है, राइट? नॉट लाइक दैट, राइट? लेटस, स्पिनच, easy to grow. So this will make you more and more involved and connected with the nature. And once you start doing it regularly, it turns out to be a situation of mindfulness. So this is a person who is doing this thing continuously in the balcony, right? And trying to arrange in the form of a mandala, whatsoever the product is, doesn't matter, right? So by definition, I will tell you what is mindfulness. Mindfulness is a type of meditation, so it's an advanced stage of meditation in which you focus on being intensely aware of what you are sensing and feeling. Just remember what you are sensing and feeling. And you can only sense and feel something once you are doing it physically, right? And it says without interpretation or judgment. कोई जजमेंट नहीं है कि आज हमने अच्छा मंडाला बनाना है, आज हमने बुरा मंडाला बनाना है, आज हमने ये करना है, आज हमारे खाली 2 ही प्रोडक्ट निकले. नो जजमेंट. देयर इज नो जजमेंट इन्वॉल्व्ड इन इट. देयर इज ओनली एक्शन and only connection with the nature. That's it. And this, I think every individual can do it. जो हॉस्टल में रहते हैं वो अपने कमरे में 2 कमरा में लगा सकते हैं गमला, right? I'm coming to it. So practicing mindfulness involves breathing methods. Breathing एक मेथड होता है mindfulness करने के लिए. guided imagery करने के लिए होता है. And other practices to relax body and mind and help reduce stress. So this is a type of a practice which is just like breathing, which you are not doing voluntarily. You are doing it involuntarily. बस सांस ले रहे हैं आप. किसी को पता है इतनी देर तक सांस लिया किसी ने? बट ले रहे हैं लगातार, राइट? वैसे ही हमारी एक्शनिंग ऐसी हो जानी चाहिए कि हम करें और हमें पता भी ना हो कि हम कर रहे हैं. There is where the environmentally conscious minds get ignited. And this is one of the best ways through for an individual living in a very urbanized system to get connected to the nature. And why I say mandala, this is something which is tried and tested across centuries, right? Why it is mandalas? Why mandalas? Because it manipulates the subtle energy within yourself. So I mean to say, you are harvesting something and bringing it in the basket and trying to arrange that in a basket in the form of a mandala, right? So in that process, what you are doing is you are manipulating your stress energy which is within yourself to fall as an undercurrent and trying to overpower your exercise of your hands to arrange that mandala. So the stress होता है ना जीवन का, राइट? टीचर लोग देते होंगे असाइनमेंट दो, ये करो वो करो, ऐसा करते हैं ना? करते हैं कि नहीं करते हैं? असाइनमेंट, प्रेजेंटेशंस, राइट, राइट अप्स, राइट? सो यू गेट sort of stressed. ये क्या क्या चल रहा है जीवन में, राइट? इतना तो पहले हमने पढ़ा ही नहीं, बहुत कुछ पढ़ना पड़ रहा है. सो हाउ टू ओवरकम इट, राइट? सो द ओवरकम इज to connect yourself with the nature. And this is one of the brilliant ways through which you can connect with the nature. And with this exercise of mindfulness and meditation, you not only connect with the nature, but you slowly inculcate a behavior within yourself which is environmentally responsible. It is not going to be a one-day task. It is going to be a year, 2 year, 3 year task, through which maybe during your graduation or undergraduate, across the 3 years of the undergraduate or the 4 years of the undergraduate, you develop a mind and a conscious which is environmentally responsible, and your actions are environmentally responsible. कोई भी खाने का सामान गंदा जो है वो हमने घूम फिर के देख के डस्टबिन में ही फेंकना है, बट बहुत बच्चे ऐसा फेंक देते, कल तो झाड़ू लगेगी, राइट? लगती भी है, right? But just imagine if the kids who own this college have such sort of environmentally responsible behavior, शायद झाड़ू लगाने की भी जरूरत ना पड़े. Just imagine the quantum of the impact it will make in the institution. A small exercise which you do, which manipulates your energy within yourself, and you start thinking positively about the environment, right? A small exercise. And if this small exercise is being done in an urbanized system, I believe that the services which we are deriving from the nature mostly, right, by paying it, we'll derive it by our own self. And you will try to manipulate that subtle energy. And ultimately, I will tell you, something which you grow and eat will make you more healthy than what you buy it from the market. There is a recent trend of growing organic food, right? Growing or eating organic vegetables, right? But what not and what? If you have something which you grow by your own, you will take care of everything, right? And you will eat also. It is such a wonderful feeling. You will not understand that you grow, you cut a bhindi, you grow maybe 2, 3, not more than that, right? You grow in the balcony, ladyfinger or maybe tomato, very easy to grow in the balcony, right? Bring it to your kitchen, wash it thoroughly, cut it, make it, and then eat it. So I mean to say, it is such a wonderful feeling through which you get connected to the nature. Right. It is not necessary that you do this great exercise in a great nursery. You can do this exercise in a small 3 by 5 balcony also. Right. So try to replicate this exercise and try to feel that before what you were not doing it, and after when you started doing it, you feel little bit relaxed in your life. बहुत जीवन की जो आपाधापी से जो मुश्किलें आती हैं वो आप उससे सबसे दूर हो जाएंगे. So this is actually, I feel that naturescapes is actually connected to the constituents of your well-being. Your well-being is connected to the naturescapes, and your naturescapes actually will become that balcony with time, slowly, right? एक अजीब सी स्ट्रेस होगी आपके अंदर कि आज मेरा पेड़ जो है ना वो पानी नहीं दिया मैंने. वो स्ट्रेस गुड स्ट्रेस है. वनस्पत की वो स्ट्रेस कि मुझे ना कल असाइनमेंट जमा करना है, मुझे किसी तरीके से चैट जीपीटी यूज करके जमा कर दूंगा. दैट इज अ डिफरेंट स्ट्रेस. दैट इज नॉट अ गुड स्ट्रेस. This will be a good stress, that I want to water my plants, I want to give some खाद to my plants, I have to see what has happened to my plants, right? You will get a friend in your balcony, right? बहुत लोगों को एक वो होता है, मुश्किल होती है कि मेरा कोई अच्छा दोस्त नहीं है, मुझे लोग डिच कर जाते हैं, मुझे कुछ बोल देते हैं, कुछ गलत बोल देते हैं, वो बोलेगा भी नहीं बट साथ में रहेगा. Just imagine the power of this exercise. So I already told this. So next one. So what I suggest as of now is that connectedness with nature is a distinct in that it supports happiness. It supports happiness within you. If you connect with the nature, it supports happiness within you. खुश रहेंगे आप. और आपके जो प्रिंसिपल हैं वो एक वो भी देती हैं, प्रिंटेड वो भी देती हैं, उसमें लिखा रहता है हंसते रहिए, मुस्कुराते रहिए, राइट? मेरे पास बहुत सारे मैम, मुस्कुराते रहिए. तो मुस्कुराएंगे कैसे? जब खुश रहेंगे, राइट? और खुश रहने का मैंने आपको एक छोटा सा तरीका बताया, बहुत छोटा सा, मे भी इतने सारे तरीके हैं बट एक छोटा सा तरीका ही है, बहुत स्मॉल. सो नेचर एंड एक्सपीरियंस इन नेचर, nature and experience in nature is actually the connect to the nature. So you are creating your own nature in which you are trying to connect yourself. That is the way you evolve slowly towards a behavior which is actually an environmentally conscious behavior, and manipulate that subtle energy in a positive way to enact upon in a cognitive way, right? आपके जहन में वो आ जाएगा. So I will close with this. Conscious comprising symbiotic cognitive affective and experiential traits actually make your behavior environmentally friendly and environmentally responsible. So this is actually a cognitive symbiotic relationship with the nature and with the pot which you are growing in your balcony. This is what the ways through which the actioning should start, right? And if you see the theme for Wetland Day today, it is similar, that you need to connect with the nature through a traditional way. This is the traditional way which we all know about it, right? Creating mandala, knowing about mandala. किसी से पूछिए जो मंडाला ड्राइंग करते हैं, कितना पेशेंस के साथ में मंडाला बनाना पड़ता है और कितनी एनर्जी लगती है मंडाला बनाने में, बट दैट एनर्जी इज पॉजिटिव, राइट? सो this will create a mind at some point of time which mind, body and soul will come together and create a balance in your life. And if you have that balance in your life, we can create a society of Hansraj College coming together, and the pivot is mind, body, and soul to achieve that 17 goals of sustainability. Slowly, with time, that can be achieved. And this is how you embrace the vision for good life. Not in one day, it will not happen in one day. इतना दिन लगाए डिस्ट्रॉय करने में तो एक दिन में ठीक भी नहीं होगा. We have to do it in a very casual, subtle way in which we have a cognitive understanding and we do a behavior which is environmentally responsible. And how you unleash that latent values, अपने अंदर की जो values हैं वो unleash कैसे करेंगे, ये actioning से. This is the way you can do it by your own self. Nobody is required, only you and your latent values, which you have already inculcated, but you have to unleash it a little bit. You have to come up as actioning to it. So, thank you so much for patient listening. Thank you.
I was to go somewhere for a meeting, but your first slide stopped me here. The first slide was education is a substratum for developing mind, body, and soul. So, somebody would have just read it, but I thought why knowledge is missing from this slide. Ideally and generally, one would think that education would bring in knowledge, but then I thought maybe he's talking, he gave me a cue also that I'll be talking about something different. I know him for last 15, 20 years and I've been associated with him as a co-worker also. So I was bound and I was sitting there to listen. Such important aspect which maybe we have not explored as yet. It appears very simple, but I think we need to try and experience it, feel it. I'll give you my example. You said a beautiful thing that if you have a place to keep 4 pots, then you have a good space. I have a place to keep 300 pots on my terrace. I do not keep any gardener. I rear all my plants myself. And you won't believe, during COVID days, it was a different kind of experience. So growing all the vegetables, I remember like rest of the things are bisexual plants, they'll form fruits on their own. But then I planted a cucumber plant. It's unisexual. And with a brush, I artificially kind of pollinated it, ek male, ek female. And only one cucumber kind of, I could harvest. And that is the best cucumber we as a family have ever had. Can't imagine the happiness of harvesting your own stuff. So, I cultivated mushrooms, not only plants, I cultivated mushrooms at home, then brinjals, spinach, tomatoes, and even this cucumber, and many other microgreens. Yeah, a cauliflower and even a broccoli. I can recall all those plants, coming to the mind. The time I become vice principal, I do not find time doing it because you have to reach back in time to water the plants and do all those things. But then please experience it. I think as Botanical Society, we can gift them one tomato ka plant or maybe one brinjal ka plant, which is very hardy. Then I have seen this exercise happening in schools. In the government schools, supposing if there are class 4 sections, so each section is given a small space and each section will cultivate a group of plants, these vegetables. They'll cultivate their brinjals, they'll cultivate their tomatoes, and then at the end of the session, there is a small competition like which section wins. This is a regular exercise happening in the schools now. So I'm so glad that such a small thing and the way Gyan has connected it to environmental consciousness and achieving the sustainability goals. Like these are little small efforts at the individual level which can bring in the change and it can make a big motion. So I think the purpose will be completely met if we all execute it today itself. If society gives you a plant, fine, otherwise you can buy a small plant yourself and cultivate it. Buy a vegetable so that the fruit gives you a lot of happiness. So I want to compliment you,
Thank you.
Gyan. It's impressive, like
Thank you.
wonderful
Thank you. Thank you.
lecture. And you opened up a new domain of thinking for us, like how he connected. It's amazing, like all these words we all have heard, meditation and consciousness, and then connecting it to mandala. So whatever the harvest you have one harvest day. So whatever little small, maybe 2 bhindis, 2 karelas, and then you arrange and the happiness, and you can post it on the social media also.
Yeah, you can do it also.
You can do it to spread the awareness. So thank you so much. Enjoyed your
Thank you.
lecture.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you.
I first would like to present a formal word of thanks to our speaker and to all the audience who have been here. So, on behalf of Botanical Society, the Department of Botany, Hansraj College, I wish to extend a heartfelt thanks to everyone who has made this World Wetland Day a celebration a success. And I especially thank you, sir. Vijay ma'am has taken all the words that I would like to say about your talk. It was really very interesting. The topic itself was very fascinating, reconnecting with nature, and it was well versed with the theme of World Wetland Day, where we actually require the traditional knowledge and the cultural heritage. And sir has given us insight how we can inculcate everything in our day-to-day life, how we can use it. So I think students must have really appreciated your talk, and I'm sure those who are here for attendance only, now they would say that the lecture was worth and they are going to take some benefits from this talk. So I thank you so much, sir, for your talk, and thank you so much for sparing your time despite your busy schedule.